Welcome to the season 2 premiere of 5 Minutes. Hi, everybody. I hope you've been doing well and hanging in the best you can here in the meantime. We have a very, very special guest with us here today. He is the Senior Vice President of Production and Talent Development and a 9-time Emmy Award winner for his work at Fox Sports. Jacob Ullman is here. Jacob, thank you so much for being here today.
Appreciate you having me, Eric.
So obviously we are in some very, very strange times, and all of us sports fans out there, we've seen a lot about how the athletes have adjusted to these strange times. And I'm sure for your industry and the topic we're going to talk about today, you've had to adjust as well.
Yeah, production in this time of COVID has been, adjustment after adjustment after adjustment, and we've had to change the way we do things. Our first main sport that came back was NASCAR, and we went from everything related to the race being done at track to our director and some of our technicians, like our camera people, being at track, our announcers and our producer actually being in our Charlotte studio, and our replays and our graphics all coming from Los Angeles, honestly, like a 3-ring circus. And just, we kind of reinvented the way we covered it. And, the great thing about technology is it's really progressed in the last few years, where you can do what a lot of people refer to as at-home productions, where, an event somewhere, but you're producing the event out of a studio. And, fortunately, that technology has gotten so much better over the years, and now has really been a time where it's become, frankly, essential.
Yeah, so NASCAR, the first one out of the gate, you had to make the adjustments to. We're going to talk a little bit more about the other sports as well. So we'll go ahead and we're going to stick 5 minutes on the clock and get this underway. Here we go. So, obviously the biggest property would be the National Football League. And you talked about having to move folks off site. In the NFL, you do have broadcasters that are on site and in the stadiums. What are some of the measures that had to be taken to make sure everyone there is safe?
In NFL, the majority of our people still are on site. We have some graphics and, once again, some replay people back in Los Angeles. The majority of people, including the announcers, are on site. One fundamental change that's been pretty well documented is our sideline reporters are no longer allowed on the sideline. So honestly, I think reporters is a better term anyways, and they're having to operate as reporters. There's the first row of every stadium is reserved, called the operational zone. It's nicknamed the moat, and a limited number of people are in that area, and even more limited number are located behind the bench area where our reporters operate and exist. And that's just, we've had to adapt to that. The NFL is obviously testing all their players. We're also testing all of our people on site. That's another thing that, has been a big curveball. And we're making it work. There's lots of changes though that, our announcers, as they prepare for the game, usually are in the team facility on Friday and do informational interviews with the players. Those are now done on Zoom. Same thing with the visiting team. Usually when they arrive, it's at their hotel. Those are done on Zoom. Our announcers, before the game, would go down on the field, not just the reporter, but also the play-by-play announcer and the analyst, and get, and get some, talk to players, watch them warm up, get some stories they can use in the broadcast. They can't go on the field before the game. So just adapting to some, what I would call new norms, and breaking people from their typical tendencies. But the bottom line is, for the viewers at home, I think football lends itself so well as a TV sport. It's continued to do that, outside of some shots where you see some empty stands, and obviously when you see the coaches and the sidelines, you see people wearing masks. But when the plays are going and we're shooting it from our play-by-play cameras, it actually doesn't look that different. And there is a sense of normalcy and something very comforting in it, that it's still a football game.
So coming out of everything that you've experienced, has it changed your strategy for how you schedule who covers what game? Maybe you send, well, we all know that your number one team is going to go to America's Game of the Week, but when you have your other crews, if it was a game that you would rather them be at, have you had to change that strategy of where you send them because of travel and all that?
No, we're still focused on kind of a cruise accordingly. But I have a document I work off of backups, backup producers, backup everything, right? Because you never know what's going to happen, and just as things come up at the last minute, you have to be prepared. And just as the teams have a bigger practice squad, we're also people are going to work in cities and opportunities and places that they didn't normally anticipate. So it's part of it, Jonathan Vilma and Kenny Albert is a new announce crew, and it's been written about that Kenny, because he'd been in Canada, wasn't able to work our first 2 weeks. So it's week 3 of the NFL season, and Jonathan Vilma will be working with his third different play-by-play. Finally, he's working with Kenny Albert this week.
Wow. So we have about a little less than a minute left. The last thing I want to ask you, I know you're a big WWE guy. How have you been able to adjust in the world of wrestling with all of the new restrictions?
WWE's been interesting. They actually produce SmackDown for us, and they've never stopped. They first moved into their Performance Center, which they had actually already had TV just by honestly happenstance, and now they've moved into the Amway Center where the Orlando Magic play, and created something called the which is a really, really awesome presentation. And so we've worked with them and been very supportive of them, but they've had a very the show must go on attitude, and they've adapted as they often do during the times, and we've not missed a beat with them. They've starting with March 13th, which was the day after kind of the country shut down, they have not missed a Friday night for us, which has been pretty awesome.
You stopped right at the 5-minute mark.
I must have sensed it.
That's why you're the pro. That's how this goes sometimes. You nail it right on the head. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Don't forget, everybody, you can watch the NFL on Fox. You can watch Friday Night SmackDown. All the great properties that Fox Sports has to offer. I know I'll be watching. Jacob Ullman, thank you so much for being here.
We appreciate it, Eric, and thanks for the plug. And yes, please watch everything on Fox and Fox Sports 1. Thank you.
We all will. You're welcome.